and welcome to the Wake Up Pueblo podcast. We're in the studio, as usual, and I have some very special guests with me, as always. Jacob Rivera, Mia Gilbertson. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
It's a beautiful day I wake up.
Absolutely. As always. Before the storm rushes in.
Oh, yeah, it is going to snow tonight.
Is it going to snow tonight, or is it going to be tomorrow? I think it's tonight through tomorrow, is what I'm hearing from my inside sources.
I've heard like take everything from work home so that you guys don't get snowed and like, oh, I forgot my laptop. I'm sorry, I can't work today.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough day tomorrow in the snow working. I love those days, though.
I do too.
Reminds me of when I was a kid. Snow days. Even though we actually have to work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, we got Mia here. I told her we have to get into the podcast booth because she's going to be speaking at Undercover Billionaire Bootcamp at the end of this month. Wow, it's already February 1st. This is crazy. So we just had to get her in the studio. So you guys, if you guys aren't familiar, who isn't? But if you guys aren't familiar, we get familiar with Mia. So Mia, we were just talking earlier.
Yeah.
We never had the story before about the early days. I was just talking to Mia just before this, and she was like, "Oh, we could take it back to Snap Fitness days when I was sitting on the floor doing marketing."
It's true. They were like, "You were gonna make this really hype video about you," and I was like, "How about we make it a joke?" Okay, for day one, right when we started at Snap Fitness, when I was hired as a college student at the time, we were sitting on the floor with no desks because it was the heat of COVID-19. As you guys know, furniture and almost everything was hard to order online, and so we ordered it, and for I want to say at least a month and a half, we were just three girls sitting on the floor with papers sprawled out everywhere, making some cool videos. And that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah, but why was so was it Lewis Curtis' idea or was it Matt Smith's idea to start the marketing company?
So marketing was always one of Matt's major priorities. He knew that to build a business, you needed to be well known, you needed to be everywhere, you needed to be kind of obnoxious at times. And so it was the heat of COVID-19, and from what I understood, actually, Lewis Curtis had come to Pueblo before I was ever hired. There was a couple months that, he made his impression, got Matt to kind of say, yes, I want you on the team, and then all of a sudden the producers say, sorry, COVID-19, you got to head home. So at this point, you see that moment where Lewis Curtis is so frustrated because he finally got some traction, and now he has to boot it again, and he was afraid that Matt was going to move on, and as Matt does, Matt moves very quickly. So within that time frame, he hired three girls to do his marketing. At the time, he was really only planning on hiring one. He had Meredith Moose, who had been with him for years already. And he was like, you know what? I'm ready to really invest in my marketing. I just want somebody that can make some content, make us present, omnipresent, if you will. And me and Paige both, actually, I remember Paige was leaving her interview as I was going in. And I remember seeing her at the university, in passing. And I was like, I know my competition.
Wait, you guys weren't friends yet, you and Paige?
No, we weren't.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was I saw her once at a Hoodie Allen concert at the university.
I've heard about that.
And I remember that she had a camera, and she had this wild hair, and she was just kind of this wild spirit. And I remember she's cool. I was a very quiet person at the time. I'm still kind of quiet in many ways. And I was like, I'm not going to talk to her. But when I saw her passing, I was like, I can do this. So I sat down in the interview, and at the end of the day, we both just impressed Matt so much that he was like, I'm going to hire them both. And yeah, that's kind of so Matt had already invested in marketing. And then he kind of actually, in the interview, he said, my goal isn't just to have you as just a three-member team for marketing. He was like, this room, which is a conference room in Snap Fitness, this room is going to filled with 100 plus people just marketing snooze.
100 plus people.
Yeah, one conference room.
It's like a
100 plus people.
Yeah, 100 plus people in this conference room to market Snooze Mattress Company. And at the time, honestly, when I applied, Meredith very loosely said, hey, do you want to apply for a job? And I was, again, heat of COVID, school just kind of shut down. Didn't really have any other priorities. I wasn't looking for a job, nor did I really want one. But I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go see what it's about. Didn't ask any questions, and so I didn't even know what Snooze Mattress Company was. And so he was like, so tell me why you're a good fit for Snooze. And I'm like, I don't even know what Snooze is.
Is that what you told him?
No, I was like, oh yeah, mattresses, blah, 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 blah. I probably pulled something out of my butt. I don't remember what it was. But he kind of Matt has this infectious energy about him where he just kind of sells you on his vision. He's definitely the classic charismatic lead, a visionary that really gets you excited about what you're about to build, like a legacy. And so I remember walking into the interview, really not wanting the job, but walking out being like, this job's mine. And yeah, so that's kind of like, it snowballed and snowballed to a point where when Lewis Curtis came back, he was like, oh shoot, he's already got a marketing team. Let's build on that and build an agency and serve other businesses in Colorado. And that's what we did.
So how'd you feel whenever they were like, Matt was like, we're going to have, a crew of X amount of people in this room to, hey, we're going to build an entire agency, starting with you three. Like, how does that shift? Like, that's from here to here, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then obviously you got all the Discovery Channel cameras all over with the mysterious Lewis Curtis. So like, what's the thought process at that time?
I honestly, I didn't have a lot of perspective. Like I was again, just out of college. I really don't think I thought far enough in the future. I think as Lewis Curtis and Matt were trying to build towards increasing our client base, I wasn't really thinking in the mindset of setting the structure or the foundation for an agency. I think at the time I was like, again, with cameras following you around everywhere you went, with Grant moving unpredictably fast because he had a deadline he was trying to meet, which was like the 90 days mark to build $1 million business. He was moving fast. There were cameras everywhere. And I honestly kind of felt like overstimulated to a point where I don't think I really saw what the big picture was going to be. I knew that we were trying to increase our client base, and I was more concerned about delivering for those clients, that I was just focused on like day-to-day tasks that I don't think I really realized until it was too late that we were in the middle of building an agency. Like I was already too deep.
What did you feel like when all those cameras were on you for the first time?
Yeah, were they like really on you?
They were. It was funny because like it was just kind of surreal because everywhere you went, they would like pull you aside before, like, because you're just used to living your life. You're used to walking into a room and talking and having a conversation and doing your thing. But like you would walk into a room and they pause your life. They literally say, hold on, take a step aside. Don't have this conversation. We want you to have this conversation in person. Let me mic you up. And they would kind of like, you would see that like the scene was being set in a way. Like it wasn't manufactured. Like everything was true to life, but it was like categorized. They were like, no, you're not going to live this part of your life until we're ready. And it was bizarre. But I felt like, I think in the beginning it was kind of overwhelming, but to be honest, we thought that they were like a wannabe film crew that said that they were going to maybe pitch something to Netflix. And so we were like, this is probably not going to go anywhere. This is probably some rich guy that has a rich dream and has no clue what he's trying to create. And we just kind of like, we went along with it kind of as just because why not, like what's the harm? And so I don't think I was intimidated at first. It was more like, this is weird. It's weird to live my life this way, but, it's probably not going to go anywhere. And then just kind of slowly like seeing more and more crew members show up. Like as we got deeper into the creation of Wake Up Pueblo, you just saw the crew getting bigger and bigger. It started with almost like maybe 5 people max.
Oh, really? So like they added people to the team in the middle of.
Yeah, it started with like 5 and then probably ended up around like 30 crew members.
Dang.
So at that point, were you like, something else is going on here?
Yeah, I think at that point I was like, either my life is going to change forever and I'm going to walk down a street and everyone's going to know my name, which is really weird. Like I think of, what's that? Like the 90 Day Fiance, like that guy. Like yeah. Everyone's going to be like, I know you. You're the person that dropped the hard drive. Like that's what I was expecting. But it kind of I was actually really happy that it turned into a happy medium, that, it kind of turned into something that is big enough for us to build a community and build relationships and have really exciting networks, but not so big that it's bigger than you. It's not so big that it's like you're a caricature of what people think you are. There's like enough of the story to where they know that there's more to you and there's more to the story. And there's something really awesome about that, I think.
Yeah. Do you have people do the whole, oh, I know you from, how often has that happened? A few times, right?
We used to have people that would call here for her and Paige.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And then you get all the comments, we read the YouTube comments. Oh, I love Mia. She's so awesome.
Yeah.
I know Anthony and Christina were like, oh yeah, Mia's awesome. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I've only ever really gotten recognized around Matt. You know what I mean? I don't know how to say this, but I think that the Asian face is hard for people to recognize. I honestly think
man.
so. So when I'm with Matt, they're like, "Oh, a tall white guy and a short Asian lady. Oh my goodness,
We know you.
this must be Undercover Billionaire." No,
That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, but no. Fortunately, people don't recognize me right away. When they do, like if we ever get a phone call to Wake Up, or I have a client that we sign on and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I watched the show," the first thing is always like, "I felt so bad for you when you dropped the hard drive."
Yeah, everyone does bring that up right away.
All the time. I really thought my legacy would be bigger than that, but it's okay.
You find that one thing and it just kind of sticks with you sometimes,
Yeah.
But it's very interesting to see that's how probably all reality TV shows are, is how they do things like that, how it's just totally different than how you actually see it in person. Like when you actually live it, it's just totally different than,
Yeah.
what people are seeing on TV.
Yeah.
So
How about, like, I know you're like super skeptical of Lewis. You could just see it on the show. But how did that evolve? Of like, at what point were you like, okay, maybe he is serious. Maybe he does know what he's talking about. Or did you just remain skeptical the whole time?
I think, I was 100% skeptical at first because I would ask him these questions. I would be like, no. So he would come in and he would say, "This is how you got to run your marketing. This is how you got to serve your clients." And I'm like, you know what? This is great information. Do you have any like case studies or like a place you used to work or just anything I can look at?
any kind of proof.
Anything that says that you've done this before. And he's like, "Oh yeah." And that was it.
I'm the best at this. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I've done this before. And I was like, "Show me." And he was like, no, I've done this before. I'm like, "This isn't help me." And he's a very charming character. Again, like there's something about these visionary leaders that when people push them, they have a way of just kind of charming their way out of it. So I remember, there's a part where, and they didn't put it in the show, which I find so funny. But I think it was Vern Larson from Advantage Home Mortgage, who, when they sat down for the very first sale for the original Wake Up clients, he said, "You know what? You kind of look like Grant Cardone." And Grant Cardone's like, would I really be sitting here across the table from you if I was Grant Cardone? And he would just kind of make some jokes. And Vern Larson's like, "Yeah, that's true." And then they just
I guess you're right.
Yeah. And there was no second questioning. There was no doubt in Vern's mind, right?
And Vern's a mortgage guy. He knows.
He is, right? So he's like, he's in real estate. And so I think that there's something about Grant where he's so used to people, like he could just put some charm on and people will let it go. And I was like, no, I'm not letting this go. Like something's off here. And I need and I'm putting a lot of my time and energy. I was in college at the time and I was putting more energy into work than I was school. And so I was like, I just kind of kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And then finally when I started realizing, I think just because he did have a really lot of good advice, and the way he would pitch it was systematic. Like the way he would explain to you that this business is not generating leads properly because X, Y, Z. It was actually very formulaic. And so I was like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about, but I still don't trust him, because it doesn't change the fact that he's lying to me. He's lying to me, you know what I mean? And so I think my skepticism was no longer whether or not he knew what he was talking about. It was like, should I trust this guy just in general? You know what I mean? And I think that the end of the show is really when the pressure was off, when the challenge was over. That's kind of when he really he was back to himself. He didn't feel like he had to pretend to be anybody else. He was back with his family, who he'd been separated with for a while. And that's kind of when you saw his vulnerable side. That's when you saw his fatherhood side. And that's kind of when I was like, okay, I'll let it slide.
You could almost see even in the show, if you're really looking at it, you could see almost a change in confidence. At the grand opening part where he's or is that just our footage? I don't know if they ever put that on, but the grand opening footage, you could see he's Grant Cardone, you know what I mean? And he's very he's big in the room, you know what I mean? But on the show, he's very almost you could tell there's something wrong, you know what I mean? He's not operating at the same way. He's trying to be more humble and more likable, I guess, personable.
Yeah. Well,
or no, or was that not at all how it was?
I think he was more personable when he was himself.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I think that again, there's bottom line type people and they want to achieve something. And so when those people hit high pressure, they kind of they just bulldoze through. You know what I mean? And sometimes that can just be hard for a team, especially like he would work really, really close with Matt, and we would definitely get a lot of guidance and leadership from him, but we didn't have as much access to him the way Matt did. So their mentor-mentee type relationship that they had, we didn't really have access to that on the ground floor, and we were doing a lot of work and we were working really hard. And so it was really hard to like, I think, appreciate him, you know what I mean? And to get to know the true him, which is like that personable, charismatic side. If anything, we just saw demand, get this done. And he was like, you know, he was trying to hit that $1 million mark. And, you know, of course that gumption is what got him to 5.5, of course, but it was definitely, him and I clashed, and there's no doubt about it. Him and I both know it, but but it's almost like I think we gained a mutual respect for each other because he knew that I wasn't a pushover, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you feel like once it was all out there, you know, this is the truth, this is why I was doing it, and hey, we just built a $5.5 million business. You know what I mean? How does that feel? You know, because I mean, you were part of the, like, it's always the narrative is always Matt and Grant, but you were also there too. You were part of the whole build out too. So like, how did that feel?
It was kind of like it was more, you know, like I don't know what's wrong with me, but there wasn't a moment of like, hell yeah. It was more of like, man, I knew it. Like it was like, I told you so. I knew this guy there was something off about him. But when it comes down to like what we built, I think that again, from the moment we started at Snap, well, actually maybe the moment that Grant came back from COVID-19, things moved so quickly. And like I said, things moved so fast that I don't think I had perspective of the whole picture. I was just kind of just trying to get day-to-day work done. And so when it was all done, it was kind of like, it was definitely a relief that the show was over because again, there's just a lot of pressure. And I was more of like, I think I was still in that tunnel vision for a very long time, probably at least until maybe 6 months ago. You know, like it was the moment when we finally did have the talent, you know, like when we did have the team that can really start like scaling and executing at a higher level than we could, the three of us, you know, because at the time, like I was the videographer, Paige was the graphic designer, Meredith was the marketer. It's the perspective of 3 college students, you know what I mean? And we were very adaptive, you know, we were natives to the social media landscapes. So it was natural, but when you start adding like a graphics designer who's been kind of like a freelancer for a while, who's seasoned, who's handled clients before, when you start getting people like Nick who have built their own pages over a long period of time, have also been out of college enough to kind of get a perspective of life. And so when it comes down to like stressful situations, he's got this cadence about him, this calmness and this kind of just like, I'm gonna get this done, don't even stress about it, like I've got nice hair, don't even worry about it. You know what I mean? Like that's like I'm
charmed.
yeah. But when you start adding people like that to the team, I think that's when I could like kind of sit back a little bit and be like, oh shoot, we made an agency, you know. And that's, I think, when I got excited. I think that's when it was enjoyable. You know, up until that point, it was stressful. You know, I remember not eating. I remember like just like a super unhealthy lifestyle because in some ways I was obsessed. I was overworked and I was like, I feel like I was going crazy, to be honest. But it's all kind of regulating. I'm still emotional, but what you gonna do?
That's wild. Yeah. So for anybody that might not know like exactly what you do here, just go ahead and tell them what you do here. She's a boss. Tell him.
I never know how to explain my role because I mean, like at first, what it was like strategy or content strategy or marketing strategy is really just like trying to tell the client, here's the solution that you need for your success, and then kind of outlining it for the rest of the team. What the job has kind of developed into, and what I started to realize is that I really need to start like again leaning on the talent that we've gained. Instead of me saying to social media, we should handle this platform, and this platform because the client's demo is XYZ, really I should be leaning on the social team. Like, hey guys, per our onboarding, I noticed that the client has this problem, wants to reach this audience. How do you suggest that we reach that? What platforms do you think are best? And what that does is it's now like leaning on, again, the specialists in the team rather than me just trying to like I tried to summarize it. I tried to like handle all of it and like outline it. So now what I'm trying to do and what strategy in my mind really is it's just gaining all the information, being kind of just a single source to pull the pieces together. So when I get the creative team's suggestion about what content is best, when I pull together, the social media team, what they think social medias work the best for that particular industry or client. And then when I talk to digital advertising and like how they want to integrate that, then like we're pulling together something comprehensive. And my goal really is just to say, okay, here's the timeline, here's the due dates. This is how we're going to pull it all together to be a cohesive unit. And then my job's done for the most part. And then I definitely do some dabbling in this news side. But for now, like as a director of strategy at Wake Up, that's my goal.
What would you say your number one, your superpower is, so to speak?
Oh, shoot. That's such a tough one, man. I think about that a lot too. Like
tough because there's so many, right?
Get out of here. I appreciate that. I think it's so hard. I think, okay, so I would say that above all else, shoot, how do I say this? I think
this is going to calm you down.
This is going to calm you down.
Give you a little chance to think about it a little bit longer.
I appreciate it.
Okay, now go.
Thank you. You're good at this. I would say, I think above all else, I am very like observant, and I think I'm very compassionate in a way where in a room I can actually tell who's upset. I can tell who's bothered. I can see what, like, when someone's reaching a breaking point. But again, like what I think is your superpower is, in some ways, you're also your greatest weakness, right? So if you don't use it properly, it becomes your greatest weakness. So my superpower is being able to see when the system isn't working and who it's going to hurt, and then trying to protect that person at the best I can. But then that turns into a weakness because sometimes I'm too sensitive. So maybe what I view as a problem isn't really as big of a problem to that person as I think it is. But then also, that's why I walk around seeming like everyone tells me, Mia, you look so stressed. Mia, chill out. Mia, you gotta relax. Mia, do you need a back massage? You know what I mean? It's like everyone can, and everyone says I wear my emotions on my face, and it's because I'm overwhelmed with emotions. You know what I mean? And it definitely is like stifling, I think, at times. But I am grateful for that, because I also know that that's what makes me my team's greatest advocate sometimes, like trying to back them up, trying to get them more help, trying to make sure that, like, if I notice that the strategy I'm creating is going to be too much of a burden, or that tasks are going to take someone down to a point where they're going to leave because they can't handle it anymore, I feel like I'm receptive to that. Don't know if that's how you guys feel, but I think that's what I'm best at.
No, yeah. I mean, I feel like I said, there's a lot of different superpowers, a lot of different ways you could go, but I think everyone knows what they're best at, for sure. Definitely more than anyone else can. I thought it was interesting. We even started using that language, superpower, because Grant told Matt, "Hey, your superpowers are just so nice." He's like, "I wish I was nice." It's crazy because like everyone, you'll say that and say, "Oh, I wish maybe I wasn't so much of that," but then there's other people looking at you like, "I wish I was more of that." You know what I mean? So that's just the crazy thing about that. So trying to go back a little bit, how did you, what was your takeaways after, now you're part of the 10X community, going to Cardone Ventures, or where were you guys at? You're at the headquarters. So you're at Cardone HQ.
That was when you and I first started here.
Yeah.
That's when
you guys left me and Nick behind.
And I had no idea what was going on.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I showed up to work and it was just Nick, and he's like, I don't know. But how do you feel about, the whole 10X? I mean, I know it's everyone has their own take on like what it means and how it's changed their lives and stuff. What do you think?
Oh, that's a lot. So when I would say I was totally unfamiliar with Grant and 10X, and that's the major question when the show first began. So I'll answer your very heated question, right? Is like, did you know that was Grant Cardone? I had no idea what 10X was or what Grant Cardone or who he was when the show began. And so even now, I think that, I'm still learning, and we're still kind of like, beforehand, I think I was resistant to the 10X community because, again, because there's types of people that go 10X, and then there's types of people that believe in slow exponential growth. And I'm definitely one of those slow exponential growth type people. I'm the type of person that I'm an analytical personality. I like controlled growth, and I like high quality results. Not to say that 10X doesn't, but I mean that I need time, and I like to maybe
preparation.
Yeah. But that was also my greatest criticism. Like, that was the biggest clash point between me and Grant, was that I think too much, I overthink, and that I'm too focused on perfection, and it's actually hindering our growth. And it took me a really, really long time to realize that he was right. And I think, you know, as we've grown, I've realized that, you know what, like 80% over a really long period of time will get you further than 100% for a short period of time, because you will burn out. You will 100% burn out going 100% at any given time. And it's going to last, you know, it's just not going to last as long. And so as we've kind of leaned into the TEDx community, really start to nurture that community and start to make connections like Joel Boer.
Yeah.
Once we really built those relationships, you realize that they're building something incredible. They're focused on impact, and that they are visionaries, you know, that they're shooting to heights that some people are too afraid to, you know. And I've noticed that I started recognizing dreams that I was hindering, that I was waiting on, because I was waiting for the best conditions. I was waiting for the right time, and there really isn't one. And so the 10X community, to me, like when I think about what 10X means, I think it means like shooting for the moon, but also being okay with the fact that it's not going to be perfect along the way, and making sure it's always about consistency. You'll hear, you know, Grant talk about that. Consistency is king, content is king. And even if it's the worst thing you've ever created, put it out there, because, you know, like someone will see it, and even bad publicity is good publicity. That was also a hard thing for me to accept. But people just like, they're fearless in the 10X community. You know, they're brave, and I appreciate that a ton.
What do you think is the main problem, like people that we've managed as far as like clients, when you're meeting with them and they say, hey, I want to be a part of this? Like, what is the main problem that they're trying to solve?
I see. So really that it's a conundrum, right? Because the 10X community is also hyper focused on conversion rates, lead generation, business building, getting the door swinging, and just like numbers. They're numbers focused, right? Sales. And the interesting thing, right, is that you really have to do two things at the same time. You need to focus on sales, but then on the back end, you also need to be focused on really long-term relationships and legacy building. And one has direct ROI. One of them, you may not see that ROI for years. And the beautiful thing about Grant is that he was able to really segment his objectives and segment his time and his budget. So he said, okay, I need sales. So he created sales opportunities, cash flow opportunities. But on the back end, he was posting YouTube videos that maybe got 15 views for the first 2 years, you know, and he posted every single week continuously, even though those views didn't seem to grow exponentially. And so when we get clients inquiring, it's hard because not everyone, even I, for a long time, didn't understand how to segment those two priorities. How do I, you know, because like when you think about sales, it takes so much energy. You know, like when you look at a good salesman, they are 100% focused on sales. But then how do you step back and also build a legacy that, you know, may not always be about converting? Because again, the problem that people don't realize is that you don't want to just get on social media and say, buy now, this is the cost, blah, blah, blah. They want to know, okay, like, how is this going to make my life better? You know, why should I buy from you? Like there's 10 other people buying or selling the exact same product. Why are you the one that I should be buying from? And that's, again, the personal relationships that you got to start nurturing. That's the information that isn't really focused on the immediate sale. And so, again, this is a roundabout way of saying our clients come in knowing that they want what Grant has. They don't always know what it takes. You know, they're going to say that, they're going to say, I want a legacy, but then 2 months down the line, they're like, why isn't the content marketing generating sales? It's, well, the content marketing wasn't really intended just to generate sales. It's definitely, you know, a part of the sales journey, but it's not all of your sales in-house. And so we're internally trying to shift our packages, and we're creating opportunities to do both at the same time, but really focusing on educating the client now of what that means to do both at the same time, and recognizing that really it's two different budgets and two different energy that you need to commit.
Yeah, for sure. And we're actually going to be talking about that at the boot camp.
Absolutely.
This is something that we're calling the conversion hack. To hack, it's a little bit of a secret. Mia's got the secret sauce, the conversion hack. So she's not. We can't go too deep on it on the podcast. You guys have to come to the boot camp to see it. February 25th and 26th. We got 3 weeks.
A little over 3 weeks, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Wait a minute. Let's go into that real quick. How are you excited? Are you nervous? You're gonna be on stage in front of all these awesome people.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, I'm a fairly confident person when it comes down to like speaking until I have to stand up there. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna feel great the night before. I'm gonna feel great walking up to the stage. The minute I stand on the stage, that's when I'm gonna start like sweating a little bit. I'll probably make like
See, that's the calming. That's Nick gonna calm you.
Yeah. I'll just remember that, when I step on stage.
There you go.
But I know that I almost always make a stupid joke that Eric always checks me on. I always say something like, something about a joke about how I'm nervous or a joke that I'm sweating. And ET
Yeah,
is
you
always
do that.
I know, I always do. And I try to just like, that way it's kind of like me just like making fun of myself so that everyone's laughing with me, rather than at me.
No one notices though.
It's true. And that's what ET says is like the minute you make a joke about it, everyone's paying attention to your nerves. And so I just gotta so see, I'm doing it right now. I'm literally prepping you guys, saying, guys, I'm gonna be nervous.
Hey, just so you know, I'm gonna be nervous. I'm not gonna say it then, but I'll say it now.
Well, it's true. I think a lot of us around here, even doing a
Yeah.
podcast for the first time or being in front of a camera for the first time, were terrified.
Absolutely.
No, I was.
Yeah, it's
And
nervous.
it's kind of one of those things where you get better doing it each time you do it. So the only way to solve your problem is if you just go out there and keep doing it and doing it and doing it until you're, so comfortable on camera, you feel like you're, I don't know, like leading an infomercial or something. I don't know, but
or you've blossomed into this movie like actor,
that'd be great.
Yeah.
For some people.
Insert clips.
That's right.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely do that. Brooks,
Good
insert
Good
clips.
job.
Yeah, but I would say that aside from my nerves, I am super, super excited because for the very first time, I think we really get to, again, really step foot into the 10X community and like go full force in. And then also like, I think we're going to help a lot of people, especially
Yeah.
with the content gauntlet. The idea of really just being able to sit with a set of individual people and set them up with content that they wouldn't normally have access to, I think is super exciting. And more importantly, I think that we haven't really emphasized so far is that there's a process to creating content. Like if you are going to go to this bootcamp, learn a few things, go back home. Yes, you'll have the set of assets we give you if you're part of the VIP something.
The gauntlet?
Yeah.
It's gonna be ultimate VIPs.
Ultimate VIPs. Okay, so if you're part of the ultimate VIPs, you're gonna walk away with assets, but those assets are gonna like last you so long. Yes, you can reuse them. Yes, they're evergreen, but again, as Grant would say, you need a lot of content over a long period of time. And so what this is really gonna do is gonna teach you how to create that content. How do you plan content and how do you structure it? Like there's a lot of ways that you need to say your message for it to be effective, and there's a lot of ineffective ways to talk, and to sell somebody. And so I'm super excited to see what that looks like.
Yeah, and it includes a strategy meeting with Mia and the team, or the team, which actually costs a lot of money. So, so it's a really good price. But yeah, what else? Anything else you want to talk about before we hit it off here?
Let's see. I think I would love to talk about real quick because you've also been a part of planning this, and I'm going to turn the script a little bit. I know, as I always do, but really like when we look at some events, we're like, man, we got talked at a lot, but and sometimes it's very repetitive. It's like it's the emotionally driven stuff, right? But like, what about like the tangible stuff? And I think you put a lot of time and effort into planning this event. And no, we can't go into too much detail, but in terms of the philosophy of planning this event, what did you really want people to walk away with?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my biggest thing is I think there's like, so for me, it's like a different perspective for me because I knew about the Grant Cardone, I knew about 10X, and then this popped up, and then I got to be a part of it, and then I saw the show from the perspective of somebody that already knew Grant Cardone. So I had immediately a lot of questions. I remember every episode I wrote down questions in my phone, and then I try to get those answers to those questions. And I still, to this day, even after working here over a year, ask Matt all the time. A random question will pop in my head, and I'll be like, how did you feel when Grant did this? How did you feel about this? So there's a ton of questions out there that I know people have. And it was never on TV. It was never on anything. So, and not only that, but Grant and Matt always talk about it. Like on our clubhouses, they're like, man, there's so many lessons that were there and they cut it all out just for entertainment purposes. And not knowing that Grant Cardone's audience wanted to see that educational stuff. That's like the whole reason why we're tuning in. You know what I mean? And so now there's another aspect of Matt Smith, who's like a similar type of person as Grant, but he's his own also. And he has his own different, it's almost like the best of both worlds combined on that. So I want to peel back all the layers and show everybody what they missed. And, you know, you're going to be able to take away whatever you feel, whatever you connect with, but there's going to be a ton of lessons in there. And not only is the guest speakers going to bring heat, but that whole story all in itself, I think, is just going to show so much. And we're going to cover marketing. We're going to cover scaling business. We're going to be covering networking, building relationships, building a winning team. There's just a ton of it. Like, I'm so excited. Like, it's funny because I'm putting together the event and I'm curating it to be, you know, something I want to go to so bad. You know what I mean? So,
what a lucky guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just
You're
like
making your own event.
Yeah. I'm pumped for it. Just like anybody else. I'm going to be in the back row, like eat my popcorn just with everybody else. But yeah, I think, you know, you got to come out here. You got to check it out. The networking alone, I know, is going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big win for people because we have a small theater and, you know, most of these conventions have thousands of people, hundreds of people. We're going to have 150 tops. And, you know, you're going to be able to connect with every single person on a 2-day event like that. Well, 3-day for VIPs, but you're going to be able to do all that. Plus, we're having like the other VIPs are going to have dinner with Matt, Q&A with Matt. Like, there's a lot of stuff. I wanted to make sure everyone got a lot of value out of this. So, you know, I think it's a good price point, and I just wanted, we did it for the people this time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's how the first one always starts, right? We have no idea how big or how much scale the next one's going to be. But the really exciting thing is, again, you get closer access to Matt. And then also, I think that, like, it's catered really to you and to the questions that you guys have. And there's a lot of malleability, right? So if there's something that you want to know, like, there's ample opportunity for you to ask that question. And then when you want to know the nitty gritty details on exactly how, not just, okay, like, great, this is the story, but how did you do it? Like Jacob said, you're going to get the information, the teachings of how we did it. And so I'm super excited.
Yep. I'm extremely excited to see you nervous on stage.
Yeah, I probably will be.
We bring some like air horns or some beach balls or
we should do that.
Some confetti poppers. Ease the tension a bit.
Good. Yeah,
I
ease
like
it up.
it. Yeah. So do we have any more VIP tickets left?
We have ultimate VIP tickets.
Okay.
And we have you know what? I'm not sure.
Okay.
I probably should check that out before I jump on this podcast.
We'll do an outtake, you know, with the person being, by the way, we got blah, 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 blah.
Undercover Billionaire Bootcamp.com if you want to get a ticket.
I like it.
We'll have the link in the description.
You're going to learn a whole lot of things that can help you out personally and your business out. So this could be a once-in-a-lifetime event for you, and you don't want to miss it. So make sure that you hop on the link that Jacob just said, and we hope to see everybody there. It's going to be a life-changing experience for sure.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Mia.
Yeah.
There's a lot I did not know before I hopped on this podcast that I learned about the show and how the whole process was. So
yeah, we got to do this more often, right?
It was more informative to me
Yeah.
than anything I think I've learned over the past year and a half. So that was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you guys want to check it out, you guys actually check out. You did the first ever podcast here during the grand opening, right?
Did we publish it? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's published. So you guys go check out our first ever podcast. Mia did it with a bunch of our clients, a bunch of people that were here, while Grant Cardone was downstairs in the basement mingling and networking with people. So that's a cool one. I listened to it. I know I did. So.
Oh, good. I actually followed through.
Yeah.
Good to know. All right. Stay tuned till next time, guys.
Thank you, guys.